Hello everyone, it's Mir, and today we'll be talking about Oro, because a certain someone seems to have forgotten that it was shown at the end of the update, but I mean, here we are. So as I was saying, Oro was teased at the end of the winter update, when the developers went over what we were going to get next patch, and here we got to see his new, old look, if you will. But I'll go right into the video. Who is Oro? What can we expect? What are his moves? And why should you be excited for Oro in the first place? So this is just a brief overview. I'm not trying to go too much in depth because I'm not as well versed in Street Fighter 3 myself, but I know a few things. So Oro comes from Street Fighter 3. It was first introduced in Second Impact, which was the second expansion for the game, but most people know him from his appearance in Third Strike, which is the final version of Street Fighter 3 that most people like to play. Oro is a Japanese hermit who lives in Brazil. He trained for a really long time and managed to unlock the Secret of Immortality. He's exceptionally old, he's more than a century, and we can see that he's friends with Dhalsim, as we see in one of the Street Fighter 5 character stories. He's one of the strongest fighters in the canon, and regardless of this, he's often shown to be a bit senile at times. He falls asleep on the battlefield, he kind of goes after young women, things like that. He only wears a torn robe, although we can see that in Street Fighter 5 he seems to have underwear, unlike Street Fighter 3, and he often handicaps himself on purpose to make fights more fair. In Street Fighter 3 he hides one of his arms inside his robe, and in Street Fighter 5 he seems to hold a turtle in one of his hands. Capcom told us already that the turtle won't be harmed, so don't worry about that, guys. But this turtle appears in one of Oro's outros in Street Fighter 3, so it's a callback to that series. Gameplay wise, for Street Fighter 3, Oro is kind of an unorthodox character. He's pretty good at space control and pokes, and can keep you out effectively with his specials and moves, but can also switch to the offense fairly quickly. He's known for his ability to do pretty long combos that loop into themselves thanks to unblockable setups. He possibly has the highest damage in the game with meter, and with the correct super selection thanks to these unblockables. His most unique move is definitely his double jump. In Street Fighter 3 he can do it off of a forward or back jump, and he can do it in any direction, and that allows him to stay mobile and bait the opponent on defense to do something, and that's the way he normally navigates the neutral game. He also has a charge fireball, kind of like a Sonic Boom. One of the versions goes up, so that it can catch you in the air, and the X version is quite good, because it's a homing projectile that tracks you. He has a flash kick, is a charge move down up, and it's mostly used to end combos. It's not especially useful for anti-airing in Street Fighter 3 because of the in-game mechanics and air parry, but it has that use as well. The next move is a hit grab, where he smashes the opponent on the ground multiple times. It's mostly used in punish combos when you cannot land your close medium punch, which is your main combo starter, but it still leads to respectable damage. Oro also has a stomp that can be executed both on the ground and in the air, and it's used as an infamous loop combos that do a lot of damage. Close medium punch is his best combo starter. It's this rising uppercut that you can do from up close, and it launches the opponent in the air, and it leads to big damage, and it's safe as well. Oro's stun output is quite high, especially with some of his normals, like standing heavy kick, which can lead to some early stun and really big damage. A big part of his game plan is tied to super art selection. As you guys know, in Street Fighter 3 you can choose between 3 different super arts, and Oro has 2 really good ones, but I'm gonna go ahead and explain what every single one of them does. Oro is unique in Street Fighter 3 because, unlike every other character, when he selects a super, he also has access to an EX version of that super that is performed by doing the same input with 2 punches instead of a single punch. In this super he uses both arms, as in he's going all out, and it's a different version of that super. So his first super is Kishin Riki. It's an install type super that turns your punches into unblockable grabs for a limited amount of time. Both your grounded and air punches turn into grabs, so you can grab opponents in the air if you want to. The X version is a leaping command grab, but Oro grabs you and flies with you in the air and then smashes you into the ground for big damage. This super is unfortunately the one that was considered the least popular and the least powerful, and it's basically never used in competitive, so it's kind of difficult to find footage of Oro using it. Super 2 is Yagyu-Dama. It's a fireball super that moves very slowly across the screen, and Oro can follow it to push a mix-up. It's also nicknamed the Booger, and you can probably imagine why that would be. It's quite good for setups, both in neutral and at the end of combos, where he usually uses it to get a hard knockdown and then reset you into an unblockable to continue comboing you and kill you eventually if he has enough meter. It's worth mentioning that Oro builds a lot of meter during his combo, so with the right resources it's basically like a touch of death, if performed correctly. The EX version is a huge fireball that he tosses like a spirit bomb like Goku does in Dragon Ball from the sky. It's unfortunately not that useful, unlike his regular super. Super R2 is an extremely good super and is often picked in competitive, and that's what we were talking about before about the unblockable setups. This is where they come from. Now his last super, Super R3, is Tengu Stones. This is what we see in the teaser as well, and it's where Oro summons some stones and random objects that float around him. These stones last for some time and increase Oro's damage when he attacks as they land on the opponent. Curiously, on top of the stones and the pieces of walls that you can summon, you can also summon other random objects that actually end up doing less damage than the actual stones. It's an element of RNG that was put in the game. We can see that the Blanca Chandal in Street Fighter V is probably a reference to this, and I can also guess that in Street Fighter V the damage will be normalized. The normal version of this super summons 3 stones, and it lasts for quite a long time. This version is not very good for juggles, because it consumes the juggle potential extremely quickly, but it's mostly used to open people up on the ground with an overhead low mix-up or just pressuring on block to get damage in case they're pressing buttons. The EX version instead summons 5 stones. This lasts way less, but the stones reset the juggle potential every hit, so it's extremely good for combos and can do a lot of stun and damage. So this is a brief overview of what Oro can do in Street Fighter 3, but what can we expect from Street Fighter 5 Oro? I think his identity of a character with good pokes and strong conversions could possibly be translated well to Street Fighter 5, maybe with more reliance on his fireball and his flash kick to play neutral, and it's even possible they could turn those moves into moves with no charge. I doubt that his double jump will be intact in the transition to Street Fighter 5. We've seen previously with many characters that you can only do dive kicks, for example from forward jumps, or Akuma's air fireball, for example. So I'm going to guess that we're only going to get one version of the double jump, possibly a retreating one, and I'm going to guess that it's more going to be treated like his own version of a dive kick, where you do it to bait certain high recovery anti-airs and then punish them accordingly. So from what we've seen in the teaser, Tengu Stones seems like one of the V-trigger choices. He does a pose and then the stones come up to him. So it would make sense that one of the other V-triggers could be one of the remaining supers, or something completely new even. But if I were to guess, Super R2, the Fireball Super, is a very obvious choice because it is so popular and will function similarly to Ed's V-Trigger 1, where you could put it on the screen and then, for example, push a mix-up, or use it in a reset situation. Tengu Stones would be the combo V-Trigger to extend your juggles and do extra damage, and the Fireball Super would be the one that you would use for mix-ups in neutral instead. His critical R could be something completely different, considering that the other Third Strike characters tend to have a completely new super, but it could be a reworked version of his grab super, maybe just a hit grab that does a lot of damage, because it is pretty iconic. As far as normals go, I think they would maintain most of his pokes, but I feel like his closed medium punch launcher would be either turned into a command normal, probably a heavy, but I doubt that it would be safe like it is in Third Strike. I'm kind of unsure about the V-skill. It's probably something that will involve the turtle in some way, because it is a new addition to his aesthetic in Street Fighter V, and it would be interesting to see if you could do actually something with it in gameplay terms. Almost all the Third Strike characters have a parry or at least some form of armor, so it would make sense that Oro would get something like that as one of his V-skills. But I think there's a lot of room to improvise with this character and get something completely new onto the table. Assuming that they manage to maintain a similar playstyle to his Third Strike incarnation, Oro could be an interesting character for people that like playing strong neutral and then switch to the offense when they have V-trigger or resources so that they can push a mix-up on you. Regardless, I'm interested to see what Capcom is going to figure out and how this character will turn out in the end. So, what do you guys think of Oro? Are you a fan of the character from back in the days of Street Fighter 3? Did you used to play him in the arcades, or are you a new player that actually didn't know who this character was up until now? Do you think he's gonna be a good addition to Street Fighter 5? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of content rolling out, especially because the update is coming, and we're excited to bring new stuff to the table. So make sure to click on that bell icon as well so that you have a chance of getting a notification when a new video comes out. And I'll see you guys next time.